We're going to go through the book of Ecclesiastes. Especially you guys, my children, I want you to get wisdom. The book of Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon are called the book of wisdoms. That's what they're called. That section, for example, the first 5 books are called the book of Moses or the law. This is called the writings or the wisdom books, wisdom literature. So I want you guys to get wisdom before you depart. You guys are going to be 18. The boy's going to be 18. My daughter's going to be 18 in a few years. So I want you to have at least wisdom when you go into the world. Not walk around unwise, not knowing nothing, or simple. The most important thing is to be wise. At least if you have the information, like they say, knowledge is power. If you have no knowledge, you have no power. But at least if you know, then you understand at least. So now the book of Ecclesiastes is a book that Solomon wrote in which he's struggling. He's really struggling. He's trying to find the meaning of life. He's saying, what is the meaning of life? He's doing so many things, and in the end, he's not getting anything out of it. Let's read. The first verse says it. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 1. The words of the teacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. My goodness. Mind you, Solomon is a wise man. So this is his conclusion. I like the King James. It says vanities of vanities. All is vanity. There is, that's his arrival. We're going to read through the book of Ecclesiastes. He's experienced a lot. He's doing a lot of things. And in the end, he just comes to the point where he's this is pointless. This is meaningless. All right, so let's continue reading. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? So he's asking the question, what's the point of you working so hard in the sun, or in the air conditioning nowadays? But like me, I'm a mailman. I work in the sun. He's saying, what do people gain from all their labors at which they toil in the sun? Now you might say, oh, money, but really in the end, you're that we're going to read through the book of Ecclesiastes. That's even pointless. He come to the point that it's meaningless. Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. And again, he's saying he's looking at world history, and he notices that people rise up, and guess what? They die and go away. It happens, and you know what? It's going to happen to him too. This is a mentality. Generations come, generations go, but the earth remains forever. Now, in this book, there's a lot of statements that Solomon makes about the earth or the atmosphere and everything, and people think that he's giving some revelation about the earth. Say, oh, see right here, it says the world's going to abide forever. So when Peter wrote that the earth is going to be destroyed by fire and all the elements are going to burn, no. Solomon's not getting theological here. Solomon's not getting trying to explain how the earth works or functions or anything. He's just making a statement that all these people are going to come and go, but you know what? The earth is going to be here still. They're going to be gone, but the earth remains. And so are we. Verse 5, the sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. Again, it's using an allegory here. Some people take this literally, saying that the earth goes around and flies around. It's the one that's moving, not the earth. And some people say, oh, see right here, this is it proves that the earth is not moving. It's the sun that's moving. But his point, he's not trying to make an astronomy lesson here. He's trying to make a lesson. He's trying to teach us a lesson about life. He's saying, look, the sun rises and sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and around it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come, they return again. So in other words, he's using the sun. What else? Go back up. He's using the sun, the wind, the streams as analogy that things just happen as they are. The sun rises, goes back, and it comes back around. The streams, The streams come and they return again. It's just like a circular, And what else? Scroll up, Josh. Stay with the wind. The wind blows to the south, then it goes back north, and then it goes back south. So everything's just happening. Everything happens. But generations come and generations go. But the earth and the sun, the wind and the streams are still going to be here, and you're not. That's his point. Verse 8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. All things. Okay, this is his mentality. He's saying all things are wearisome. All things, whether it is his work, his children, his marriage, whatever, it's wearisome. It's a burden. Like the King James says, all things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. This is his conclusion. It's just a burden.
Tiresome, tedious.
The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear it's full of hearing. So the eye, it can never stop looking. It's always watching. People are always on their phone. They got to watch. They got to hear. People got to hear things. They got to talk to somebody. They got to hear a video or audio. Is never full. It's never like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to see anymore. I don't need to hear anymore. I'm fine. It's always wanting to hear. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything, there's nothing different. Everything that happened before is going to happen again. There's going to be wars. There's going to be people poor. There's going to be oppression. There's going to be, good people. There's going to be bad people. What has been will be again. So there's been wars. Guess what? There's going to be wars again. What has been done will be done again. Somebody did good or bad, it's going to be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? Right? Now, mind you, it's not talking about iPhones or, of course, 200 years ago, there were no cars. It's not talking about that. It's talking about behavior or things that people do in their day in, day out lives. There's nothing new. Everybody has done it, Everybody has sailed a ship or, and there's nothing new under the sun. All right, where am I? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. So everything's happened before. It would happen long before. It says it was here already long ago. So all these things have happened before. There's nothing new under the sun. All right, verse 11. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. So and it's true. Ask me 5 generations ago who my grandparents were. I don't have a clue. And guess what? 5 generations from now, it says, and even those who are yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. So guess what? Your children, when you guys have children, 5 generations from now, nobody's going to remember them either. That's how it is under the sun. We come, we go. I mean, of course, there's some prominent people, some historical figures that might stick out every so once in a while. But the majority of us, the billions of us, most of us, what it says, no one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. That's the mindset you got to have. That's reality. That's true. I mean, I know some of you think you're special, you're wonderful, you're all that in a bag of chips, but guess what? Those generations to come won't remember who you are. They'll be like, Domingo? Who was that? That's how it is. It's just a sad, and when you think of it, that's why Solomon, who's a great king, is saying this. Now, he's still remembered, but he's talking as a guy here. He's saying, look, if I'm a guy, this is how I'll feel. Nobody's going to remember me. And that's a pretty sobering, depressing thought, that nobody 5 generations, 3 generations from now, you're going to be a nobody. You're just going to be nothing. It's like you never even existed. Wow, that's crazy. Scroll up. Oh, okay. Keep on. I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. So he's king over Israel. He's Solomon. And he said, look, he applied his mind. He's like, to study and to explore. So he said, look, I want to figure this out. I'm not doing this because I'm bored or, I'm doing this because I'm applying my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. So he's like, look, I'm going to figure this out. I might even do it. I might do bad. And he's going to do bad as we read through the book of Ecclesiastes. But he wanted to find out himself by experience, what is this all about? This has been pressing in his mind. He wants wisdom. He wants to understand. This is not just, well, I'm bored, let me do it, or, no, he's really, what a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. So that's his one of his conclusions, that God has laid a heavy burden on people. It's not, look, if you think this doesn't come when I hear like Joel Osteen's Your Best Life Now, that's not Solomon's mind, the wisest man that was ever made. His life, and he had his best life now, his mentality was, what a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. Because when, even in Solomon, even though he's a king, he still had people wanting to usurp him, wanting to murder him, wanting to steal his stuff. He had heavy burdens too. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under heaven. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So Solomon, he's observed stuff and he's come to the conclusion, look, it's pointless. You're chasing after, in the end, you're chasing after the wind. I know when you're chasing something, the reason why people chase it, either a dream or a relationship or some want to be wealthy or something, they're chasing something. You think that if I finally get it, I'm gonna be the happiest guy. Here, Solomon said, I chase those things and it's meaningless. It's pointless. So he's telling you, look, learn from him. You don't have to experience it. He experienced it for you. He did all the dirty work for you. That's what he's trying to tell you here. 15. What is crooked cannot be made straight. What is lacking cannot be counted. Okay, so what is crooked cannot be made straight. Now, this could apply to people. Look, a person that's crooked, we read through the book of Proverbs about fools. Even if you beat them with 1,000 blows, they won't change. What is crooked cannot be straightened. It could also be like physical. Like somebody has a crooked back, unless God intervenes, you cannot straighten their backs. But this is the point he's making. Look, if somebody's crooked, you cannot straighten it. And what is lacking cannot be counted. So suppose you had like $2, but you're missing 50 cents now. You don't have $2. You can't count that as $2 anymore. So what is lacking cannot be counted. I looked in the commentaries to find out what that meant, and a lot of people had a lot of opinions. It's not very clear what Solomon was trying to say there. So I'm not going to go deep into something that even others had issues trying to figure out what he meant. Verse 16, I said to myself, self, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. Remember, he asked God for wisdom. He asked God, look, I don't want the death of my enemies or long life. I just want wisdom. And God gave it to him. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Okay, some wisdom you experience. There's wisdom that you learn from books. There's wisdom that you learn from experience. That's become a lot of employers. They want people with experience. Why? Because it's one thing if you have book knowledge, but it's another thing when you actually have hands-on knowledge. And here he's saying, look, I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. So he not only heard about it, he said, you know what? I'm going to actually do this to figure it out myself so I can know how it feels. Then I apply myself to the understanding of wisdom. So he said, look, I'm going to try to understand wisdom, being wise. But also he says, and also of madness and folly. So he said, you know what? I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to go crazy myself. I'm going to do some crazy things. Not because he's crazy, because he just wants to experience it. Now, Surgeon General's warning, Solomon is not telling you to do it. He's doing it, like I said, he's doing the dirty work for you here. He's saying, look, I tried, I applied myself to understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. So he said, look, I'm going to do some foolish things. I'm going to do some really ridiculous things. I'm going to do it. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. See, because the thing is, a lot of fools think that, oh, I got the good life, you know. I'm sleeping around with every woman. I'm mugging people and I don't even have to work. I'm getting money. He's saying, look, that's chasing after the wind too. It's pointless. So even while he was doing foolish things, he realized, because he still had wisdom. He realized, look, being a fool is not that great. You're chasing after the wind. And this is what he learned. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Click on that. I like the way the King James worded it. It's basically the same idea. It says this: for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. For much wisdom is much grief. So the more you know, the more depressed you get. It's like, even with, like, for example, the Bible. Sometimes you're all, I just love Jesus. I just love, I'm grateful for him being my savior. But then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, he wants me to give up this. He wants me to give up that. And wait a minute, my family's not saved. So if they don't repent, they're going to be thrown into hell. For which with much wisdom is much grief. Sometimes you wish. There are days when I say, you know what? I wish I was never a Christian. I was at peace. I was just doing me. I didn't worry about anything. I could go back, just watch football games all day, talk to my friends about the World Series. When you think about those days, it was so peaceful, but I sought wisdom. But with much wisdom is much grief. And he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. So the more you know, the more depressing it's gonna get. It's not. Look, the more you know, you better get that mindset right. Because you know what? I tell you this: there's a lot of people, when they know stuff, they think, I'm done, I'm out. They don't want knowledge. They don't want to increase their knowledge. But if you want to increase knowledge, guess what? The price tag is going to be very sad. It's going to be very depressing. The more you know, even outside of the Bible, just in life, when you understand things that are happening behind the scenes or happen historically, it'll just make you depressed, bro. But the thing is, we got to be a people about wisdom. But like I said, this is the price tag of it. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. So, yeah, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. It's not pleasant. Anybody who says, "Oh, it's great being a Christian. The best news ever." Yeah, I thank God for Jesus dying for my sins, but there's some pretty bad news, that are going to happen to others. It's going to happen later too. So, it's not all good, but, we got to be wise people. That's the bottom line. You can't be like some people who want to be oblivious to everything. They willfully want to be ignorant. No, we don't want to be willfully ignorant. We want to be people of knowledge. But like I said, price tag is going to be sorrow and grief. All right? Anybody has a question, comment, or concern so far? Because we're done with this chapter. But that's